welcome to Side Action, episode 20 of season 7. My name is Jim Weggars, aka Wegs. You can follow me at Wegspool on X and on Instagram.
And I'm Coop. You can check me on Instagram at Dalton Cooper, on X at Mr. Grumpy Gills. By the way, don't forget to follow Side Action Podcast on TikTok. I know Wegsy here puts a lot of work into those TikToks, and he would love to talk to somebody other than Russian bots. So
Yeah, I
make
want
sure
you
to
to
check
do
us
my
out.
dance. We haven't done the dance. You're rejecting doing my TikTok dance.
The TikTok.
Just a
Yeah.
little something, this little
Maybe
people
Saturday.
doing the
Maybe Saturday
stupid
we can get
stuff.
everybody do a little side action dance. That'd be funny.
Yeah, I think we should. We
Yeah.
should. I'll clear a nice space here, dining room, to figure out how to
Yeah.
lay this place out. But
On the table.
so, yeah, how you been? You've got the Winter Classic hat. I was busting this guy, but you went to the Winter Classic, right?
Oh yeah, definitely checked it out on TV. It was the least viewed Winter Classic of all time. So shout
Yeah.
out to the NHL for picking two stellar teams to do this event around. It's kind of the outside of the playoffs. It's kind of the biggest game of the year, and they decided to put two shithole teams in it. So what can
Yeah,
you say?
that's Wrigley Field. It's exciting. It displaced the Chris Kindle market up
Oh yeah, there was
there.
a lot
It's
of
a
people
bummer.
uproar. Yeah, it was an
Oh
uproar of
yeah,
that, by the way. A lot of people were not happy.
the stinky cheese, man. You ever had the stinky cheese sandwich? It's delicious.
Oh well, we went to the one in Naperville, and the
Okay.
line for those stinky cheese sandwiches was probably an hour long, if not more. So and it's just
Amazing.
like, oh man, yeah, it smells funny. I don't know if I could do it. I've never had
Yeah,
one.
it smells funny. It smells like a foot. Yeah, it smells like a
Yeah,
stinky foot.
I
But
can't
it
get
tastes
past it.
good. For some reason, it tastes good. I don't understand how something smells like crap and tastes good. But
I think
hey,
it smells
these
worse
things
than crap. Honestly, it smells. I can't even describe the smell to you.
happen. So how was your? It's kind of a long week. I mean, you had a lot of stuff going on. We had
Oh yeah.
the New Year's. We had the weekend. You were back, so you came back, and then what did you do last weekend? You just play low, or did you guys do stuff?
Trying to man. See, and having holidays like right in the middle of the week just screws me all up. I don't know how you feel
Yeah,
about that, but it
feels
just
like
I
Tuesday
can't.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't think today was Friday. It does. It feels like the most Tuesday Friday ever. So, I'm trying to think back. No, I mean we kind of just laid low. We did a late Christmas dinner
Okay.
on last Saturday, and then Sunday we kind of just hung out. Uh, watched some football, and then yeah, just kind of getting everything situated for the new year. Brandon was in town for New Year's, which was nice, and we
He
did
was
the
in a black tie. He was doing his whole
the whole three
tux
piece.
move, looking
Yeah,
good.
so always good to see him. He's kind of like he's technically my cousin, but it's basically my older brother. So
Yeah, yeah.
um, but yeah, no, enjoyed the New Year's on the lake, and it's just kind of recouping before I guess the real world starts back up on Monday. So I was told that the week or so between or Christmas and New Year's just doesn't exist. So like that
Right.
time is just it's a snafu, it's a fugazi, if you will. So
Hmm.
just waiting for the real world to kick back in.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Yeah. How about
Well,
you?
you missed a good time. Best intentions. We went to on Saturday night. My birthday was Friday. Did the whole movies thing or whatever, which was fun. The Fire Inside is a pretty good movie. It's with a woman from Flint, Michigan, who like goes to the Olympics, and spoiler alert, she wins the Olympics in her first try at 17. But it's more than that for the movie. It was pretty cool. Um, and then Best Intentions, which was the bar that we went to in Logan Square, was really cool. I like that spot. I heard it has a really good patio, but in the wintertime, it's just kind of a
Yeah.
very divey bar. But the cocktails were great and really reasonable. Got Luke out, which is amazing, and we couldn't find Strickland, but Tony G got out, and Luke and Lee, and it was fun. We had a good like 6 people out there. Our pan,
Nice.
eventually. No, actually, our pan didn't make it out. Who was the other guy? So, but anyway, Jason Bosniak. So it was really fun. And then we ended up going to Stereo and then made an appearance at Holiday Club. We don't know how many more Holiday Clubs are going to be, so you just got to keep
Oh,
going over there.
gotcha. I was gonna say, is there talks of it finally getting the
I,
caboose? I know this has
who
been like
knows?
2 years in the works. I
Who
feel like this has
knows?
been on the table since I moved here.
But good for them. They're milking it. Everybody's going there, which is great. And
Yeah.
then Theater on the Lake was awesome. We got a little dancing in, got a little shenanigans. It was a pretty fun time. And the only downside was escaping that place. Our pan, Julie and I walked about, I don't know, a mile and a half to get an Uber or something, because the Ubers were like $70 or something. I was like, no
Yeah.
way. And then
Yeah.
we walked really far. Then we went to Fiesta, or not Fiesta Maycon. That's closing too. Did you know that closed? Fiesta
No, that's our
Mexicana
pan
closed.
spot, eh?
No, Lindo Guadalajara is his spot. The Fiesta
Okay.
Mexicana was a volleyball spot right near the Green Mill. That let's pour one out for them. They served us well in those
Damn.
COVID years where we used to get 15, 20 people in there. They closed for good, which is sad. But Lindo Guadalajara is open 24 hours.
Mm.
We've gone there many times. I have never seen it so crowded, dude. It was like wall to wall people.
Really?
Um, yeah, it was out there, and there was almost a fight. It's like 2:30 in the morning, right? There was almost a fight between some ladies.
Hell
They had to
yeah.
kick somebody out. Jimmy Wegg's got a phone number. I just kind of started talking to somebody in a booth, like, bam, let's go out.
Nice.
Lives in the burbs, but whatever, was
Yeah.
on a roll. But what else are you gonna do at 3:30 in the morning at a Mexican restaurant? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because
So
God forbid we eat the burritos and enjoy our time. Always working. Always working, this guy.
always working. But yeah, technically I went back to work yesterday, but it's been pretty light, and I'm okay with that. And then more to come on the weekend. So I'm just trying to
Yeah,
prep
good to
for
hear. Good to hear. I feel like that was our best move, was us leaving at like 12:35 or 12:45 when we did, because before we even left the house that night, I was like, okay, do we drive and
that.
do we or do we Uber? I'm like, there's pros and cons. There's like,
Yeah.
obviously there's going to be a limit if I'm going to drive. I'm going to have just a couple drinks, nothing too.
What did you end up doing?
Oh, we Ubered for sure. We ended up
Yeah.
Ubering, but we left. Like I said, I think we picked the perfect time because it was only like a $27 Uber at that moment.
Oh,
And
that's
we
good.
still kind
That's
of,
good.
yeah, because we went over to Steph's to watch the Buckeyes game, and she was
Yeah.
like, yeah, Caesar made 2 trips, and the Uber. I guess Julie had walked all the way to Arpan's place.
Well, no, we
So,
walked. Oh, you mean beforehand?
no, I'm talking about, like, I guess she was talking about she had walked all the way to Arpan's house even after
No,
the
I mean, we
restaurant.
walked a ways, but then we got an Uber from basically Belmont and Sheridan to Arpan's place, and then
Gotcha.
Arpan drove us to the Mexican restaurant, and then Arpan dropped us off.
Gotcha.
That was kind of what happened.
I was gonna say, how in the world do you not get frostbite? Because it was not like it was warm,
It
and that's like
wasn't warm.
a
It
3 mile
wasn't warm.
drive, 3 mile
We were
walk. Eh?
we were moving. We were moving pretty quick. I don't think I had a scarf. It was a little cold out there, sir.
Yeah.
But we made it work. Maybe I was a little liquored, so it helped a little bit. But no, we did walk a long way. It was probably just under 2 miles, but we didn't walk all the way to Arpan. Arpan was like, "Let's walk." I'm like, "Are you serious? That's like 4 miles." I'm like,
Yeah, that's a hike.
So I did pay like $30 to get from Belmont to his place, but it was better than the 70 or whatever it was going to be initially.
Yeah.
So it's all good. Had a good time. Had a good crowd. It's good. So
Yeah, couldn't complain.
let's transition. Let's who's in the shed this week? Plenty of opportunities here.
Oh yeah.
To name a few, I'll let you go first. We've got a lot of teams, so we got to build another wing for the shed. Maybe like a whole second level for the shed. I don't know if there's 2 level sheds in this world, but you can stack them.
I found I'm gonna have to put the whole city of Chicago sports teams in the shed, Wags. Now that 2024 has come to a screeching end, closing the book.
Yeah.
The Chicago sports teams, so the Big Five, so the Bulls, the Bears, the Blackhawks, the Cubs, and the White Sox. So for the year of 2024, they combined for a winning percentage of .375.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's really bad. 37% of the time we're winning, so that means 63% of the time we're losing, and that's great if we're flipping that and going to Vegas or going to the tables. I'll take 63%. So. But no, we're putting the whole city. We need something in this city. It's way too. First of all, I keep hearing like Ben Johnson, which I'm sure we'll get into, was he wants to bring his own GM in, and Ryan Poles is going to nix that because Ryan Poles is just looking out for Ryan Poles and not the organization. And just I feel like there's way too many politics and all the sports teams here instead of just, hey, let's get good teams and we'll fucking figure it out from there. So we're putting all of them in the bin. We have no hope as far as a sports team in this city. And it's just tough. It's just real tough right now, especially with the colder it gets. The more miserable it is, and there's no light. There's no light, Wags. I don't know what we're gonna do.
I mean, what I will say is, it hasn't been that bad. It's a sunny day. It hasn't been as cold as it normally is in winter, so maybe it won't be that rough of a winter. But I will tell you, to your point, I can't watch the Bulls. I know you watch the Blackhawks because you're a hockey guy. I'm turning to college basketball. It's just like I can't watch anything else because it's just sad. I mean, DePaul's no good. I know that's not a Chicago team, but yeah, I hear you, bro. It's a tough one.
Tough.
Illinois won. That's not really a Chicago team, but Illinois did win their bowl game.
That is fair. Beat the
SEC.
SEC. Yeah.
And so who else you got? You've got the bye
Yeah,
teams, right?
and then
More teams.
I'm gonna put rust in the shed, and I guess what I mean by that is rest versus rust, if you will.
Yep.
So we're putting rust in the shed because all 4 bye teams from the CFP, they're out. See you later. All 4 of them. That would be Georgia, that would be Oregon, that would be Boise State, and Arizona State. Now Arizona State was probably the one team that put up the best fight, I guess. Boise State was only down, I think, 4 or 5 going into the fourth quarter, and then they just completely shit the bed. They had 4 red zone trips and couldn't score on any of them, which I think had a better chance of winning the lottery than doing that again. So, but we're putting rust in the shed. See you later. So,
yeah, I mean, there's something to be said. I mean, we'll talk a little more, and I've got my shed to piggyback off of yours, but the bottom line is they didn't seed the teams well. Let's start there.
Yeah.
This is their first go around, but they didn't seed them well. And then secondarily, I mean, I don't know. I guess a lot of teams hadn't played for a month or something, or 3 weeks. So it does show that playing is better. Momentum is important. Whereas in the NFL, you don't usually see that because those are professionals, I guess. Maybe the kids are just like, yeah, man, I don't really care. Maybe not lifting weights as hard or something.
Yeah.
So, but
we can only hope it happens to the Chiefs, honestly. That's all I'm hoping for. I'm hoping this trend continues and the Chiefs are bounced in the first round and we can have a new champion.
Yeah, Andy Reid off a bye is bad though. Remember?
Yeah.
So I will go with the Oregon Ducks specifically because they were the 1 seed. Now they did get the toughest draw. Getting the Buckeyes was no gift, no Christmas gift, because those teams are basically even, or they were even a few weeks ago, or 2 months ago. But they just were not ready to play. I mean, give Ryan Day and Chip Kelly probably more credit, because their offense in the last 2 weeks has just been throttling teams in the first quarter. 35 points in the first quarter in 2 games. They just were, every play I saw was just a huge play.
Yeah.
And it's like your boy, you'll talk about him later, but Jeremiah Smith, like, don't you think you need a game plan for this dude? I mean, Dan Lanning, you had a great season, but my God, you were not ready to go. You're down 34-0 until that last first half score. So you're in the shed for sure. I know you're with the rest of the bye teams, but at least the other teams kind of put up a fight. Well, I don't know about Georgia, was weird, but anyway, they put up a fight, right? Yeah. They just never had a fight in this game. They never had a chance. So they're losing pretty bad, 41-21. That score wasn't even indicative of how bad this whooping was for the Ducks.
Oh no, you could definitely tell Ohio State throttled down the second half for sure. Like I feel like they could have put 60 if they really wanted to.
Right. The only person that was happy was Ridgeway, although I don't think she likes the Buckeyes either, but I know she hates the Ducks. So shout out to you, Ridgeway.
Yeah. Right.
So club dub. Let's flip it. Last weekend was more mine, and you have some for this weekend for the games we just talked about. Let's start with our guy, Drew Lock. First of all, some people would put him in the shed for this because he went to the shed last week playing like garbage, the club dub, because he had a monster game. 309 yards, 4 touchdown passes, 1 rushing. What are we doing? That's like the second coming of Lamar Jackson here. But guess what? Beating the Colts knocks them out of the playoffs, but you basically lost the number 1 pick. So you're in the club dub for me because we've talked shit about you all year, Drew Lock. So have fun, but you're basically going to be cut, and people are probably mad that you won that ball game against the Colts.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like there was just more indicative of the Colts. I mean, I feel like that game. I feel like that game told you a lot more about the Colts than it did about the Giants. So, I feel like the Colts were really low hanging fruit to put in the shed, but I feel like it'd just be piggybacking off of everybody at that point. So
yeah, and it is weird that Richardson didn't start. He was hurt, but it doesn't even matter. The defense just sucked. The defense was terrible.
Yeah,
in that game. And then the other one is Saquon Barkley. He breaks 2,000 yards. He rushes for 167 yards this week against Dallas, who had been playing good. But guess what? Just a little teaser. He's not going to play this week. No. I put this in before this. I thought he had a chance to break Dickerson's record. I understand he's not about records, and I respect that, but that's tough. I think that also hurts his MVP chances. But Saquon, for us, you're our MVP of the podcast. Get in club dub. Have yourself a time. Make sure you make enough room for those quads, because I know there needs to be some space there. I feel you. Enjoy yourself.
Well, I think the I guess after doing a little bit of research, I think he's making the right decision. I think his
Yeah.
biggest thing, which he's been in the league 7 seasons, Wags. He's only had a winning season. This is his second winning season.
Wow.
So yeah, that's an unbelievable stat. When I saw that, I was kind of blown away. So I think he wants to. I think he wants to win the big one. I think he wants to take that deep run, and I think he's willing to sacrifice the record for it. So I think that's probably the biggest determining factor. But yeah, shout out to him. He's had an incredible season.
Well, and to your point, 31 carries last week. He'd probably need another 30 to get the record.
Yeah.
That's not good. He's going to have to play him the week after. Let's rest his legs. I mean, everybody knows when you get in that 350 to 400 touch seasons, you basically tank the next season. So but anyway, who do you got? Who do you got in Club Dub this week?
So I've got Zach Ertz. I know it's been a minute, but the Commanders came back and beat the Falcons in overtime with some horrible clock management from Raheem Morris. So we could have put him in the shed, honestly, the way he backed it. He just botched that game. So, but I'm putting Zach Ertz. He had 2 touchdowns in the win, but he made an extra $750K that game. So with his stat line, he eclipsed the 6 touchdown mark on the season. He had over 60 catches this season, over 600 yards. So the 3 incentives paid $250,000 a piece, and that's a nice little $750,000 he walked away with, and a win. I mean, that's a double bonus if you ask me. If there's anybody that could come on the side action and speak to double dipping, I think it's Zach Ertz.
Yeah. Zach, feel free to tip the bottle girls. I mean, Jesus, you got a little extra cash. Spread the joy. We're open to sponsorship too, Zach Ertz.
Yeah, shout out to Julie, by the way. His wife's a professional soccer player too.
Oh, so, yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, so shout out to Julie. And then you kind of alluded to it earlier, our guy. That feels so nasty saying, by the way, because I'm a Michigan fan. But yeah, Jeremiah Smith, he's got to be in Club Dub. He's Rose Bowl killer. Shades of Jackson Smith and Jigba, I tell you. So he had 187 yards on 7 catches and 2 touchdowns. I think the best thing about this whole performance was he said on Tuesday or Wednesday that if they play single coverage against him, he's gonna be open all the time. And he was not a liar, Wags. He didn't lie. There was no lie to be found. So through his 2 games on the CFP, he's got 13 catches for 290 yards and 4 touchdowns. So he's been a one-man wrecking crew. And he's only a freshman.
That's what I was going to say. This dude's only a freshman. He's not eligible for the 2027 draft.
Yeah. He's 19 years old. He can't even go to the club. He can't even have a drink. He can't even
Jeremiah,
I guess he can.
I don't want to support fake IDs, but maybe we can figure something out for you. A virgin cocktail, if you will. But
maybe a height requirement, like you must be this high to get into Club Dub, because he's 6'4".
It's never been that people set out 2 years, but Jamar Chase set out a full year because he knew he was going to be a high pick. I mean, you got to figure he's going to do that next year if he's going to have these kind of games.
I figured it was I think Jamar sat out more for COVID reasons, because that was the COVID season that he sat out. I think there was a lot of unknowns in that time. No, I don't anticipate Jeremiah.
He's making money.
Yeah,
he's making the NIL money. So
yeah, for sure.
But this dude's a beast. I mean, between him and the kid from Alabama, those are both freshman guys. Wow. I mean, receivers have never been, better and more coveted. So good job, Jeremiah. We'll figure out a way to get you some good times.
He's like the second coming of A.J. Brown. I mean, he's 6'4", and he's probably about 220 to 225 pounds. I mean, this is a very large kid. I mean, he's looked like he was 19 since he was probably 12 years old, I'd imagine. So,
they were confident to Terrell Owens, I think, and just size, speed, and all that kind of stuff. So he's a stud. So let's go over the games. We kind of alluded to it already. Penn State, this was you predicted this, of course, but as you mentioned, Boise had a chance to cover. This was on New Year's Eve. We were all kind of following it, and it's funny. Everybody's asking who would you take, and I'm like, Dalton took Penn State minus the points, and one of the guys, I don't know if you met Jake's tall friend.
Yeah,
I took Boise money line. I'm like, well, I hope they win for you, but none of these teams have won. None of these upset teams have won. So. But anyway, they went 34-17, came out pretty strong early. Boise did come back, but Penn State was able to close the door. We'll see how they do this week, but good for James Franklin. 2 wins in the playoffs.
Yeah. Oh, the cool thing with their matchup with Notre Dame now is we're guaranteed to have an African American coach in the finals for the first time in history. So there you go. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
That's definitely a good history right there. Then we had Texas. What can we say? This was the best game of the 4 by far. Texas came out strong again. They were playing really good, and then ASU, like, they didn't get a lot going, but I thought the defense stepped up a little bit. And your guy, Cam Scadaboo, I don't know if I spelled that right, but this dude, he talked a big game before the game, and early he was getting smashed. I was like, oh, this guy's talking junk. But then the second half, this guy just caught fire. I mean, he threw a touchdown pass. He ran for a bunch of yards. He was basically the whole offense in the second half. Now, he was throwing up on the sideline because he was exhausted. And he did have the touchdown in overtime that I thought was going to put them over the top. But then,
Yeah.
what could be said? The end of this game was kind of a disappointment. I mean, obviously, 4th and 13, they had their chance to win it, and then they blow the coverage, and then I don't know what to say. The very next play, they would come right back and get smoked on another pass. It was sad. I was really rooting for them, but what can be said? Texas wins. I don't have the right score. It's 39-31 was the final score here.
Yeah.
A lot of points in this one. What did you think of this game?
Well, you didn't even mention the targeting call that wasn't called. The targeting heard around the world. I mean, if I've ever seen targeting in my whole life, and I mean, that was definitely targeting. And that, I mean, at that point, Arizona State still had all the momentum. Texas kicker is a huge liability. I don't know if you saw Sark giving him a little pep talk. Sark did a lot of things in this game, and just his whole staff that I don't understand. So I was listening to the game too. Like in the second quarter, they were talking about the physicality of Texas. They were mentioning that Texas's offensive line per player outweighed Arizona State's defensive line by like an average of 60 pounds per person. And all they were doing is playing this finesse game and throwing the ball around. And I'm just like, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, why, if you're that much bigger than the other team, why don't they just play the Eagles and just bully your way down the field? And Texas, the whole season has been, kind of balanced on their run game. Like their run game has been a very key part of their success. So I would say this is more of a coaching blunder on Texas. This game should never have been close. I mean, they get a punt return in the first quarter, make it 14-3, take all the wind out of the sails, and they just took their throat off. They took their foot off their throats. So I'm worried about this Texas team moving forward. If they don't get their shit together, it's going to be ugly in Texas. I think it's going to be real ugly.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Sark, he hasn't been great in big games. You know what I mean? So we'll see. I thought and it was early in the game. It was a total turning point. But I remember in the first half, Arizona State got turned away at like the 3 or 4 yard line.
Yeah.
And then the very next play, that's why I was saying this Arizona defense played great, except for those 2 plays in overtime. They busted through the line and forced that fumble that eventually led to a safety. That was really a huge momentum swing. I thought after they got beat there, it was like, Texas going to win this one easily. And then they showed up. They had some heart, man. They played really good. And that coach is only 34 years old, bro.
Yeah, Dillingham, right?
Dillingham, yeah, he's really young. So then the games, we had Ohio State. Obviously, we talked about the Ducks, and that was just a whitewash, 41-21. I was actually we didn't talk about this part of it, talked about the rest of it. Dylan Gabriel, I've heard lots about him. Of course, he's a Hawaii kid, so I've heard a lot about him. My coworker knows his parents or something. But I just felt like he got dialed in on certain receivers and just was trying to force it early, man. I mean, it was like, dude, there's 3 people there. What are you doing? Maybe the coverage was so good you just had to do that, but I was a little unimpressed by Dylan Gabriel.
Well, for the second straight game, Ohio State has knocked out the opposing starting running back within like the first 2 or 3 series. So I don't know if that has something to do with it too. They never could establish a run game. So I mean, when you're down 21-0 before you even blink, it's really hard to even establish a flow or even get that involved. So I just, to your opinion or to your point, he never had a chance. But also, I think the familiarity. I mean, when you get down 21 points and these 2 teams have already played each other once, that your tendencies are going to. I mean, if you become any kind of predictable, you're going to be in real big trouble. And I think that's just what happened here. He just got eaten alive. Plus, Ohio State's defense right now. I mean, they look like a Sunday team right now. The way Caleb Downs is playing, the way the line's playing, they're pressuring 4.
You saw the stat. You're probably aware of it. Only 2 players on the team are not seniors, basically. They have 4 and 5 year starters on that defense, except for 2 guys. So these dudes they're men. And a lot of them will probably play on Sunday, soon. And so they had played together. So they looked really good. I kept texting you, how did they lose to goddamn Michigan? I mean, I don't understand how they lost to Michigan. And Michigan obviously played well in their bowl game. Maybe they turned the season, but this team outclasses every other team. So far, I don't see anybody who can run with this team. We'll see if that changes, next week. But it's insane.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, side note on Michigan, they ended the year last year beating Alabama, and then they started this year by beating Alabama. So it's a big win for the Big Ten. You know.
It is. Now they beat Washington, but I hear what you're saying. They ended Alabama's season. I think what you mean to say.
Yeah, well, they
Yeah.
played on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day last year.
Oh, I
So
see. I see what you're
they
saying.
ended their season last year beating Alabama, and they started this year by beating Alabama. So
Nice.
yeah.
Take that, SEC. In the last game, Notre Dame, obviously without the quarterback. I'm not really sure if the quarterback. I've dogged the Georgia quarterback all season, so I'm not sure if it made a huge difference, but it did affect their game plan. This was a defensive battle. It was like 6-3, but then Kirby Smart kind of made some questionable decisions. There was a fumble, and all of a sudden it's 13-3.
Mm-hmm.
So then they got the gap, and then that kickoff, the opening kickoff return in the second half. Now it's 20-3. I mean, what are you doing? You're basically done. You can't score. So they ended up losing 23-10. They had a couple times in the red zone. They got stopped a couple times, and Notre Dame did what they needed to do to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, a big turning point too. You could point to Parker Jones. You could point to that sideline interference call. That was the biggest play of the game for probably either team. A nice 65-yard catch and run, and
right.
the guy, getting a little overzealous. He's a walk-on, by the way, so I doubt you'll see him ever again. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like you said, I don't know if Carson Beck would have made much of a difference. That Notre Dame defense looks really good. I mean, they're well coached. You talk about playing as one unit. I have a future on Ohio State, Notre Dame playing in the finals, so we'll see what happens moving forward. But to your point, I just don't know if anybody can keep up with the Buckeyes right now.
Yeah, well, good transition. Notre Dame is playing Penn State in this next game here, and that's going to be at the quote-unquote Fiesta Bowl on Thursday next week, the 9th at 6:30 p.m. Central. Right now, Notre Dame is favored by 1.5 points over Penn State, 47-point total. This should be a fun game. To your point, I do think Notre Dame is obviously favored. But Grabo, I got to ask him. Hopefully, it comes on Saturday. I got to find out if he ended up punching that future for Notre Dame because they were a bit more of a long shot early, even though they're obviously proved to be a really good team this year. So I'm assuming you like Notre Dame in this one. Oh no, you don't. You got Penn State.
I do.
You got the plus 1.5.
I think the extra day or so is going to make a big difference in preparation for this game. I mean, when you got 19, 20-year-old kids, all that time, any kind of preparation you can squeeze out of. I mean, so what Penn State gets a whole 2 extra days, I think, right? Because they played on New Year's Eve.
They played New Year's Eve and they played Thursday. Yeah.
I mean, the physicality of Notre Dame. I mean, I think that might be if Notre Dame can be as fresh as they were against Georgia. I think Penn State may have trouble, but I don't know. I think the value is with the points either way. I think if Notre Dame was the under, I think this is kind of like and this kind of backfired me in the Ohio State Oregon game, but I think the points are the value just because these teams are very evenly matched.
I gotcha. I'd probably go with the under in this game personally. I don't see a ton of points being scored in this one, but I could be wrong.
This could be a Drew Aller coming out party. That's I think who's got a lot to gain, and the tight end from Penn State could be a real difference maker. So
nice. Second game's Ohio State against Texas. This is in the Cotton Bowl. I have Ohio State as a 6-point favorite here. 53.5 point total. This is Friday Friday the 10th at 6:30 p.m. And so you were talking to the Longhorns defense. Maybe it's a coaching issue. I just don't believe in them. I mean, Arizona State did what they wanted. I thought that Clemson moved the ball really good against them in the first game. I think that strength of schedule is going to make a big difference here because I don't think they've seen a team as good as Ohio State. So I know I'd lay the points. I see you would too.
Yeah, I'm going to do it, but the only thing that the only thing that I see that Texas would have a chance in is they have to run the football. Back to the Arizona State game. I think them throwing the ball so much led to so little possession time. I think Arizona State had 10 or 12 more minutes of possession than Texas did. And all that, I mean, all you're doing is wearing out your defense at that point. So, if they're going to have any chance of beating the Buckeyes, the time of possession either has to be in the favor of Texas or it's got to be pretty damn even. It can't be lopsided. If they get any kind of lopsided even early, I think they're in big trouble. So my only reservation too is can Will Howard play 3 really good games in a row? So he hasn't really used his legs too much. It's been more of he's been really good throwing the ball and obviously hitting Jeremiah Smith a lot, which makes everybody's life easier if you're a quarterback. Sure. So that's only my reservation is can Will Howard stay at the level he's at, and can Texas even out the time of possession battle? That's the way I see winning the games for either team.
Yeah, I just feel like I don't know. I mean, when you make Ewers a passer, right? He's just not as effective, right? He's better as a runner, and we talked about this in the past. I think that he can definitely make plays with his legs, but he didn't really run against Arizona State, so I don't know if they were just spying him or what. But so yeah, in the end, I don't know. Yeah, maybe
Also,
I wanted it to be a good game.
yeah, it could be Quinn Ewers' revenge game. I don't know if you remember or not. He was an
Ooh,
Ohio State quarterback at one point in time. He was first
really?
recruited to Ohio State. Yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Oh
Well,
yeah. Before he transferred
let's
to Texas.
let's see if he can surprise me. It would be nice to see one upset at some point in this playoff. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's already been the year of the favorites, which we'll get into in a minute. But like this is
Chalk.
that, like
Yeah.
chalk talk, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want
Does that mean
to
Kansas is going all the way?
I guess.
So
Um, we'll review your two picks just for the
yeah,
view
we're
the
taking
listeners.
Ohio State. You can get it at 5.5 or 6. I mean, I don't care either way. I just think I'd
Yeah,
still take the Buckeyes. I think the whole like crowd advantage will. I think this team is on a mission right now. I think it's Ohio versus the world, and they're going into
yeah,
Jerry's world. It's probably going to be like 75-25 as far as the crowd. So I think
yeah.
they'll turn that into a positive, and I think they'll roll. And then I'm going to take the points. I'm going to take Penn State. So we'll have an all Big Ten final, and we'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
exactly. A little rematch because they played earlier this year, right?
Yeah, it was 20-13, I think, in Happy Valley.
Right. It's close until the end. All right, let's get into the NFL. As I just mentioned, it's the year of the favorite. Last week, 13-3 favorites covered. This is ridiculous, Coop. I'm sick of it. Uh, on the season, 55.47% on the closing lines and 57.81% on the opening lines if you took favorites. This is just, this is not my year. I'm a contrarian better, and it's a bad year to be that way. It should have been a Joey Public. Casino's got to be losing money. I mean, which is tough.
Yeah.
Tough on them, but the totals were even 8-8, which is so those have been kind of normalized, but it doesn't really matter who you pick. Just pick the guy who's favored. More often than not, you're going to win some money. And
That's
so
fair.
just for my tally, I know you're really interested in this because you didn't do it. You should have listened to other people this year. But let's just see if I would have bet $100, $110 on each of those games would have happened. Oh, you'd be up $2,100. That's pretty good. Not
It's
bad.
not terrible.
Not bad.
It's not nothing.
So last week, the lone side action official pick was the Bengals that came in, and this one should have never come in because the Bengals had. I mean, I don't understand what was going on in this game. Like, it was just a weird situation. Uh, I don't know. I mean, they played good as they've done, but they mismanaged. I know we kind of went back and forth on text. Maybe they could have. Maybe they shouldn't. Maybe they should have scored the touchdown, as you said. The injury timeout saved the timeout. And all that at the end of regulation. But in the end, they still gave up the touchdown. I know you didn't like the call at the end, but then it took them was it their third possession? It was their third possession in overtime for
Yeah.
them to actually get a touchdown. Because dude missed the field goal in the second
Yeah,
possession.
Cade York off the street,
Oh
baby.
my God. Oh
Yeah.
my God. So, but they ended up winning the game. Hey, no problem. We covered. So it was a wild one.
Fantasy hero T. Higgins to the rescue, by the way. 3 touchdowns in
Yeah.
your fantasy league finals. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So
And
we
then the
need Kevin
Bucks.
Harlan to call more NFL games, by the
Oh,
way.
he's the
That man
best.
is electric. Yeah.
He is so excitable when he's like, oh, it's like, yeah, he gets
He's
people
got
going.
Mims. He's got Mims. That's all I can hear. Yeah.
But that puts Denver in a bad position this week, which we'll talk about in a minute. The Bucks, I couldn't get action to go on the Bucks with me, but that's fine. The Bucks did win 48-14. It was a destruction. Mike Evans is the man. He just is and is he leading? I think he's second in passing or something. He's like had a monster. His last 5 weeks have been insane. He is just white hot. Watch out for the Bucks in the playoffs if they can win this week.
Yeah, you don't want to. This is like one team you wouldn't want to play in the playoffs right now. I feel like they've got nothing to lose, and I feel like teams like that, once they get in, are very dangerous. So we'll see.
Yeah. And then this is the don't take the dogs rule. Cowboys get destroyed 41-7. Titans, they don't understand. They successfully tank, but the Jags don't. They lose 20-13. Jags were the favorite in that one.
Yeah.
The Browns against the Dolphins win in 40 degrees or less.
I know.
They do it. 20-3,
Tua
much to
didn't
your
play.
chagrin.
Yeah.
And
Tua's
then
out again this week.
I know. And then the Pack. They actually didn't play well in this game. Minnesota played so well. Sam Darnold was great, but leave it to the friggin' Packers. They close strong, have a chance. It's 27-25. Still couldn't get a stop on the last drive. So they lose the game. And of course, they don't cover the +1 number. So tough
Yeah.
beat there.
I just slow starts. I mean, I feel like they were so pass happy in the first half instead of their whole MO this season. Josh Jacobs has the most first half carries out of any running back in the league this year, and they never ran the ball in the first half. I could not understand it. What was going on? What the game plan was there?
Yeah, I do think Aaron Jones getting a little banged up late did affect them because he was running the ball effectively, but him out of the game, they weren't as good at converting. That's why the Pack would be able to kind of get back in it.
You
In
mean
that
Josh
one.
Jacobs?
No. Aaron Jones for the Vikings. I'm saying that they weren't able to run the kind of run out the clock.
Yeah.
Because the Pack were able to stop them with Jones on the bench, basically.
Yeah.
He was banged up.
Well, that shows also how good the front office is or how good the organization is, because that's why they brought Cam Akers in. I don't know if you remember that. They traded for him. They had him last year as well. They traded for him maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago. But he scored a touchdown, I think, as well. So I mean, they do it. I'm telling you what, this Kevin O'Connell guy, if you get in a 1-score game with him, you're gonna lose, because the man is he was 11-0 his first year in Minnesota in 1-score games. I think he was maybe 500 last year, but they're like 7-1 this year, I think, in 1-score games or something like that. I mean, just unbelievable.
Do you have a Coach of the Year ticket on Kevin O'Connell?
I've got one on Sean McVay.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Probably going to be O'Connell, but we'll see what happens. Maybe Campbell will get in there. The Commanders, we already kind of alluded to this. They did kind of play with their food in the end. Should have lost the game probably, and then they ended up winning and cover the number. What are they going to do? They should have won. They covered the number in overtime. And then the Lions. This was a funny game. They trailed the entire game, and then all of a sudden, they just kept scoring because the defense is terrible. Brock Purdy actually played pretty well, but one turnover, we couldn't keep serve, and then they end up winning 40-34. It was like they were up like 40-28 at one point, but that defense was just a sieve, but they still cover the number.
Yeah, and I think for the Lions, that's going to be their MO in the playoffs. Is that I think that's exactly how they're playing defense. Is they're trying to get turnovers. If they can get 2 more possessions than the other team, they're very confident they can win the game. So I think it's going to be really exciting to watch them in the playoffs, because it's going to be take all their overs. Do not take their under on the Lions, for God's sakes. Whatever you do, I don't care if the number's 100.
So this week we've got 2 games on Saturday, the rest on Sunday. There's no Monday Night Football this week. Start off with Cleveland at Baltimore. Okay, the contest line opened at 18 yesterday, 41-point total. The market is 20 points now. This is at 3:30 on Central on Sunday or Saturday. This is insane. 20-point spread on a 41-point total. So, look, I can't tell you to take that with my expert side, but of course, favorites have been covering. You want to lay 20 points, go for it. But I'm not going to put this as a contest pick.
Yeah, and I don't see. Well, I guess they do need to win this game to secure the division. So I mean, I could see them, running the score up maybe in the first half just to make sure they can, maybe start resting people in the second. But then you're flirting with the back door, and to your point, if DTR has any kind of a game, but this Ravens defense has been different since they played on the bye, since they've switched Kyle Hamilton to specifically playing safety, and Roquan runs the box. I mean, they've been a much better defense. So they're actually, I think, top in the NFL since week 12 at third down opponent conversion rate. So they're getting people off the field. And if you get, Lamar Jackson the ball more times than your opponent is getting the ball, I mean, I like your chances.
Yeah, give it to Lamar and Henry. You got a shot. The second game at 7 o'clock. I was surprised they didn't put this at the same time because of the playoff implications, but there is a second game. This is Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. Cincinnati's a 2-point favorite now, 48-point total. Cincinnati's still alive. They have a little flicker, and we talked about that. Nobody wants to play them, but once the odds now, because Miami won, I had that 50-1 ticket. I think I told you about. It's now 125-1.
Oh boy!
Because basically they need 3 outcomes, right? They have to win.
Yeah.
Denver has to lose and Miami has to lose for them to make it in, which kind of sucks because they could go 9-8 again and not make the playoffs for 2 years in a row. So I do like Cincinnati in the game. I think they're going to win. Pittsburgh hasn't been the same, and even though Pittsburgh wants to win the division, if Baltimore loses, they're going to know if Baltimore already won, it doesn't really matter, right? I don't think they get affected in terms of their seeding per se. So I guess it maybe matters in terms of like Chargers or something jumping them, but in the end, I like Cincinnati for sure on this one.
Yeah. Let's see. The Chargers technically, well, the Steelers hold the tiebreaker over the Chargers based on the head-to-head win percentage. So I still
But
think the
if they,
Steelers do need to win to keep their
right,
seeding,
correct.
because they would much rather play Houston
Everybody wants
than
to play Houston.
yeah, they'd much rather play Houston than Buffalo or even
Yes.
Baltimore. So, I don't know the way that the Steelers defense has been kind of lackluster down the stretch too. Against the Chiefs, there was so many wide open guys. We talked about that too, and
Yep.
Russ has been cooking and setting the kitchen on fire lately too. He's been
Yeah.
fumbling and turning the ball over, and I think if that continues, the Steelers defense or the Steelers as a whole are built to be fundamentally sound. They're not positioned or built to win shootouts.
No.
They're more about, let's not beat ourselves and, we'll wait for the other guy to make a mistake. So
Yeah.
I'm with you. I like the Bengals. Also, the Bengals have a better win percentage against Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh than they do in Cincinnati. So anytime the Bengals go on the road, it's against the Steelers. That's your pick. Well, Big Ben only lost like 2 or 3 times in Cincinnati in his whole 15-year career. So
and they were really good at that stretch too. I mean, they had a good team back then. Okay, so we're both on Cincinnati. There we go. And then that sets up the Sunday games. We'll start with the NFC South. Carolina at Atlanta. Atlanta's an 8-point favorite at home, 48-point total. This is at noon. Atlanta needs to win and Tampa Bay to lose for them to qualify and win the division. They're probably going to win the football game. I get it. But Carolina, I told you they're sneaky. They didn't play great, against Tampa because Tampa's a white hot team. But other than that, I mean, this team's frisky. So I don't know. I like Carolina in this one plus the 8. It doesn't mean that Atlanta isn't going to win the football game. I think they will. But at some point, they're not that good of a football team.
Yeah. Well, Carolina's had good starts. They've been starting games well, which is, I think, whenever you have a young quarterback is always a very key. I think it's a key tell of how the game is going to go. But I don't know. I feel like Michael Penix is playing well. He's getting more comfortable in the system. He's got all kinds of weapons. I think he might be a little limited in what he can do. I think you kind of saw that against Jaden Daniels, to where he's definitely going to sit in that pocket. He's not going to beat you any other way than throwing the ball around the field. But again, Carolina's defense is definitely, even though Washington's isn't very great either. But yeah, I would go contrarian here. I would take the Falcons. I think whenever they get, I wouldn't say they got embarrassed, but I think the way that they lost the game was embarrassing. The way that they had it and then they didn't have it, and they just kind of pissed it away. So I would go contrarian here. I would take the Falcons.
Well, I mean, contrary to me, but obviously following the trend of favorites.
Why would you not take favorites, Wags? Did you not learn anything from your last segment? Come on, what are we doing here?
Look, I'm a stubborn SOB. So then the other game is New Orleans at Tampa. Tampa's a 13.5-point favorite in the contest, 43.5-point total. It's the mark is 14 now on them. If Tampa wins, they're in. And they obviously got a reprieve with the Atlanta losing last week, but they're the better football team. So I want to see this team in the playoffs. So I know they're going to win this game. Will they cover the number? I know you believe it. I think they will too. I think 13.5 is a great number for the contest. So not surprised it went up to about 14. Probably by game time it'll be 14.5, So love Tampa in this.
Yeah, take Mike Evans, all of his props, because he's got some incentives. He's playing for like $3 million. I think he needs
nice.
I think he needs 5 catches and like 85 yards to get those incentives for a $3 million bonus. So
yeah, baby, let's go.
Yeah, I would hammer those player props for him, and that's just another little key sprinkle too. Pay attention to incentives this weekend. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys do pay attention to that and they definitely want their money. So I'm with you. I would take Tampa. New Orleans has only scored 24 points in the last 2 weeks, or no, they only scored 20 points last week. So they got shut out by Green Bay, and they just don't look good. Without Derek Carr, they can't even score. So there's no Derek Carr, there's no Alvin Kamara, there's no Taysom Hill. Yeah.
Just so you know, James Hedgerton III is not going to hedge this game because Tampa. I have the ticket plus 333. I am not going to hedge it, even though I should, but I will not. Come on, Tampa, just win the game. Then Washington at Dallas. This has minor implications. Washington's a 5-point favorite in the contest, 44.5-point total. All the talk is that they're going to keep playing hard because they want to switch with Green Bay if they get the win. So obviously everybody's trying to look at who they're going to play and everything. The market's now 6.5 for Washington. So honestly, it's a good contest play because that's the movement. I'm not sure I'd go there because I think Dallas, they've, besides last week, and they played hard for a quarter. I did think they missing CeeDee Lamb quite a bit last week. It definitely affects their offense, but I don't know, Washington, I guess they get a revenge factor, but Dallas has played decent. So I probably wouldn't lay the 6.5. It seems like too much, but 5 for the contest seems pretty good.
Yeah, and Washington's actually still ahead of Green Bay right now. So they have the tiebreaker over Green Bay based on best win percentage in conference games. So they do need to win to, kind of not play Philly in the first round because I mean, you could get that. I mean, I guess you could argue that Washington is a good matchup against Philly, but I mean, if you can play the Rams or the Bucks instead of playing the Eagles, I think you'd take your chances. Yes, so I like Washington here. And plus, Dallas has been hammered at home basically every game this season. I don't see that changing.
Except for Tampa.
Yeah, except for Tampa.
Yeah. Okay, then the Bears at Green Bay. Green Bay's a 10-point favorite at home, 41-point total. As you mentioned, if they win and Washington loses, they jump and they get to play the Rams, she said. So, I think that they're going to win. I don't know about 10 points is a lot of points, but, I know you're favorites, baby. Favorites. So, you like Green Bay on this one to cover the number.
Yeah, bear belly up. It's not bear down anymore. It's bear belly up. So, yeah. See you later. I think the whole Bears organization is ready for the season to be over, and just everybody from the players to the water boys to the medical personnel, I think is just they probably got a really bad taste in their mouth, and I just don't see how they can rally behind this and all the coaching talk that's going on and just all the dysfunction. I just feel like it'd be really hard to rally themselves to play well in this game.
Right.
I guess the only thing going in their advantage, though, they do have a nice rest advantage because they played that Thursday night game. So they have, 3 or 4 extra days to get ready. But again, when they're not playing for anything, does that make a difference?
Right. It's, I mean, they're going to go to Green Bay. The Chiefs heads are going to be out. They're going to be yelling. It's going to be cold. They're going to try to spread the field. They're going to sack Caleb Williams 6 times to break the record or whatever it is. He's close to the record, right? He has a fast car, but he's close to it.
He's close to it, yeah.
All right, so a couple games that don't really have implications. You got Jacksonville at Indy. The contest says Indy -5 at home, 44-point total. Market's now 4.5, a little bit down. Forget it. I can't trust Indy. I don't care. I'd go against them, actually, if anything, just because they have nothing to play for, per se. Jacksonville, for some reason, has been winning games, even though they shouldn't be. So I'll probably take the points in this one, but I don't really care to bet on this game.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably a pass game for me, but I would probably take the Colts just based on how well Jonathan Taylor's been playing the last 3 weeks.
He's playing good.
Yeah, he's in a nice little resurgence here, especially if you've had him in fantasy. He's been winning weeks for you. So they have been running the ball well. It's just, can their defense tackle anybody? I mean, Brian Thomas Jr. might have a big game this weekend coming up. You saw what Malik Davers did to them. So, they get another LSU wide receiver this week. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that dude's awesome. He's awesome. Buffalo can't improve their seeding. They're at New England. Mm-hmm. They're a short 2-point favorite, 36.5-point total. What do you want me to say? New England is the number 1 seed, right? I have the number 1 pick, right? Is that right?
As it stands right now, yes.
So they have instead of to lose. So that's the thing. But Buffalo, obviously, I'm sure Josh Allen's not going to play in the rest of the game. He has
to start because he's got like 103. He hasn't missed a start since he became Buffalo's starting quarterback. So he's going to start, and then they're going to take him out. Well, I don't know if he's going to play a half. I think he's going to play like the first 2 or 3 series. So it's like 102 or 103 straight games he's started. So I think Matt Stafford I think Jared Goff is in second, but at like 50 something, like 55. So Josh Allen will start, but he won't play the whole game. No way.
Take a couple snaps, hand the ball off, get the hell out of there, get healthy. Yeah. They can't get to the 1 seed, so why not? But
Mitch Trubisky, though. Mitchell,
he's a game breaker,
He came in against Houston, had a decent game when they played Houston.
He can get some games. I mean, New England's not that great, but I'm not betting on this game, dude. I can't do it. I mean, if anything, Drake May props. He'll get some yardage running or something. He's been pretty good.
Yeah.
So then the Giants at Philly. Again, Philly can't improve their standing. They're 2.5-point favorites at home, 37.5-point total. The market is now up to 3 for them. The Giants, whatever. I mean, they screwed themselves. So Drew Lock, I mean, the thing is they could play the second line of defense against Drew Lock, and he will get pummeled. So I understand why the market's not much bigger than 3 because Kenny Pickett played fine last week. I'm assuming he's going to start. Are they going to bench Pickett and play
No,
the other guy?
Kenny Pickett's hurt.
Oh, he got hurt.
Yeah, he's hurt. He's got either broken or dislocated ribs, one or the other. He actually started last week's game with a broken rib. No one knew about it.
Then they got that other guy.
Yeah, I can't remember. He threw his first touchdown to A.J. Brown, and A.J. Brown decided to throw the ball into the stands. I can't remember what the guy's name is, so forgive me.
We'll look it up.
But I love the Giants this week because there's a spin zone to this game. And the spin zone is that obviously the Eagles aren't playing anybody, but I think the Eagles are purposely doing that to screw the Giants to make sure that they don't improve their draft capital. So I think Howie Roseman is playing chess when the Giants are playing checkers. So I would actually take the Giants here.
Okay. You think they're gonna win the game?
Is it Sudfeld? Is that his name?
It's not Sudfeld. That's another. I'm looking him up. 1 second. Yeah, 1 second. Almost there.
Yeah. Tanner something.
It's McKee. Tanner McKee.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's played at Stanford.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
He's kind of a project guy. He wasn't bad. He's like 6'6", so he's a tall drink of water. But okay. I see what you're saying. I just we'll see. Yeah. Again, these games that I don't like playing these games with they're not playing their guys, blah blah blah. No way. No thanks.
So Brian Daboll keeping his job game too.
Well, I think that's a foregone conclusion. No, you think he's going to keep his job?
I think so.
Wow. Okay. I mean, it was only 2 years ago he won Coach of the Year, but
yeah,
Daniel Jones. Okay, so Houston at Tennessee, again, a who cares game. Tennessee is actually favored in this game. I was shocked by this, by 2 points, 37-point total. The market's down to 1.5. Again, Tennessee is garbage. They're just straight garbage. So I can't back them, but Houston doesn't have anything to play for either. So what do you want me to say? I would say I have to pick it in the other contest. So I'm definitely going to pick Houston because I think Tennessee is trash.
Yeah, I mean, Houston's been not very good either. I mean, they didn't even score last game against the Ravens. They got a safety, and that was the only reason why they scored. I mean, they've only scored
2.
Yeah, they've only scored 21 points the last 2 games. Granted, it was against the Chiefs and Ravens, which are arguably 2 of the better defensive teams in the league. But
right.
I mean, Joe Mixon's not doing anything right now, and I mean, they got Nico Collins back, but he's been basically invisible. Tank Dell's out. Stephon Diggs is gone. I don't know. I'm betting against this team in the first round of the playoffs. CJ Stroud's not playing as well. He's perceiving pressure that's not there. He's definitely a shell of what he was last year.
Didn't they sign Deontay Johnson? He went to Baltimore. Didn't he go to Houston now?
I think so. But at the same point in time, he hasn't been a very good culture fit anywhere he's been.
I guess not.
And the last thing you need right now is a cancer in the locker room. So I don't think there's a lot of high vibes in Houston right now, even though I was really big on them in the preseason. I thought they would have especially with DeMeco, DeMeco Ryans and the way he schemes defense. I mean, their defense has been pretty decent throughout the year, but I mean, I would take Tennessee. I just feel like Tennessee's got a little more, better vibes right now. That's basically all we're playing off of at this point.
Better vibes. They stink, but better vibes. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's a total, just all these games that are just have nothing on the line. I'm like, forget it.
Well, and the crazy thing is they want to go an 18-game season, which means we're going to get another week of just meaningless games like this, in my opinion. Yeah. So
I agree.
I don't know.
Okay, so then Kansas City is at Denver. Denver's a 10.5-point favorite, total of 40. This is at 3:25 p.m. Central Time. They win, they're in. I don't like Denver. I don't like them anymore. I don't think they're that good. But 10.5, God damn it. I know Mahomes isn't playing. I get it. I'm lining up against Denver here. 10.5. Not that they're going to lose the game. They're probably going to win the game. But it's just like one of those things like 10.5 points, even who's the backup? It's Wentz. Your guy, Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
All you got to do is hand the ball off to Pacheco or whoever's up back there. Who is playing for them?
Probably Kareem Hunt, if I had to guess, was going to be their starting running back. Yeah.
Kareem Hunt can get some yards. Denver's not going to light up the scoreboard against his defense unless they sit everybody. Is Chris Jones sitting too?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. God damn it! I hate these games. So I guess I can't lay 10. I can't lay 10.5 though. I can't do it. So
no, I'm with you.
They'll win the game.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they'll win the game. I just feel like the more I think about this game, the more I think this is a Carson Wentz audition for he could be next year's
Yeah.
Sam Darnold. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So he's been with Andy Reid all season.
It's
He's
true.
probably been learning from Mahomes, and we know what Andy Reid can do with quarterbacks when he has
Yeah.
time to sit there and teach them. And I mean, he's got, like I said, he's got Mahomes, so who didn't play for basically a whole season. But I'm optimistic. Plus, I'm putting my Bengals hat on, and I really hope that somehow
Oh,
Carson Wentz can pull a rabbit out of his ass. And
everybody wants the Bengals to be in the playoffs. You,
yeah,
me, everybody. Of course they do. Joe Burrow, give him a shot. But this is just, and I get it. Mahomes, they shouldn't play him. They shouldn't risk injury
yeah.
and all that stuff.
And
But it's tough.
the other spin zone to this is, I mean, Denver never had any expectations going into the season. And this is the
True.
first time they have expectations all season, right? The last
Mm-hmm.
couple of weeks is the first time that they've really actually had, meaningful games or pressured to win games, and they haven't responded well. Now, the Broncos are getting their second cornerback. He's been hurt. I cannot remember his name off the top of my head, but he is really good. He plays opposite of Patrick Surtain.
Right.
So that might be a big boost. And also, you got to watch DeAndre Hopkins in this game because he's got, I think, a 1 or 2 touchdown incentives, to try to break on. So anytime touchdown score, I'd go DeAndre Hopkins on that.
Yeah, they score 14 points. They're going to cover this number. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
10 points even. And they're not going to score 24 points on the defense, even if Jones isn't playing. So
watch it be 35-36 or some crazy number. That'd be so funny.
That would be awesome. All right, so then Miami at the Jets in the contest. Miami's a 1-point favorite, 39-point total. Miami needs to win and have Denver lose to get in. There's no Tua again. This is just a bad situation for Miami, in my view. The Jets obviously they were abysmal last week. They got just roasted last week, but they played really good before that. So I don't know what to say. This could be Rodgers' last football game, the swan song. So I kind of feel like he's going to play and play well. So I don't like Miami in this spot, but they should win the game. But I don't like it. I'd go Jets plus the one,
Yeah.
which is too short.
Right on cue.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time the Dolphins and Jets got together, the Dolphins beat them in overtime in Miami.
Yeah.
So Aaron Rodgers has had success because, I mean, the Fins defense has actually been pretty good this season.
Good.
Yeah, they've been frisky. They've been holding this team together.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Tyler Huntley, he looked a lot better against Cleveland. He looked a lot better than I expected him to be. It looks like he actually understood the offense because the first couple times he played, you saw a lot less motion, you saw a lot less moving, but pre-snap. But against Cleveland, they looked like they ran their regular offense. It looked like he understood the playbook more, or just had a little more reps and familiarity with it. But man, I don't know. No Tua. How well can Tyler Huntley play again? I mean, like I said, he only had like 4 or 5 incompletions last week. So
he played good.
I don't know if you're going to get 2 games in a row out of Tyler Huntley. That would be my only reservation.
Exactly. Yeah. Crazy. So then a couple more games in that window. San Francisco's at Arizona. Obviously, they're both eliminated. 4.5 point total, or 4.5 point spread for Arizona at home. 42.5 point total. I don't know what to say about this game. Arizona fell off the map. They kind of disappointed everybody. They're favored, but that's too many points. I mean, is Brock Purdy not going to play? Is he hurt or
he's
something?
out. Yeah, he's out.
So I guess that's probably why that they're favored by this many points. But I can't pick either of these teams. I just no clue what's going to happen in this game. Probably San Francisco keeps it close enough, and it's under. I would take San Francisco.
Yeah, I would just take San Fran just based on the coaching matchup. Just the way that the Cardinals are historic for falling apart in late season and second halves of season. So, yeah, I would take the Niners just because I feel like Kyle Shanahan's got to have something to prove a little bit, maybe something to end the season on a high note. But
right,
we'll see. We'll see. Kyler Murray has not been very good the last couple weeks either. So, I don't know.
There you have it.
I was going to say, just another ugly game, another meaningless ugly game.
He's faded in the second half. Maybe it's just physical. He just can't keep up the little.
But it's because Call of Duty came out. Call of Duty gets released in November every year, and that's kind of the.
He's way too busy.
Yeah.
Dominating Call of Duty, but not figuring out what to do against defenses.
I think I did see a stat. He was like what was it? They were like 6-2 before Call of Duty came out, and now he's like 1-5 since it has came out, or 1-4. So yeah, I mean, it fits the bill.
All right, so this game does matter. The Chargers at the Raiders. Chargers are 4-point favorites on the road in the contest, 41-point total. The market's 4.5. Why? If the Chargers win, Pittsburgh loses, which they're already going to know if Pittsburgh's lost or not. So that's why it's a risky contest play, I suppose, because you lock it in before the Pittsburgh game. But if the Chargers win, they actually jump up to the 5 seed, right? So they get to play the Texans. Everybody wants to beat the Texans. So I do like I didn't put them. Oh, I did. Yeah, I like the Chargers minus the 4 in the contest for sure.
Yeah, and I think JK's coming back if I recall correctly.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think, yeah, to your point, and it's a big coaching mismatch too. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Antonio Pierce and Jim Harbaugh. Come on, what are we
His
talking about?
His last game, right? And you got to be firing Pierce, I'd imagine, this year.
I would imagine. So I've just from that point alone, and plus the Raiders have been playing. I mean, they've been frisky. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. They've been showing effort and a lot more effort than some other teams like the Bears. But yeah, I'm with you. I feel like you got to give. I feel like Jim Harbaugh wants to win 12 games in his first year. You know, I feel like that's kind of his MO. He's always gone on to 11 or 12 wins his first year every time he's been. And actually, I guess they can get to 11 wins. So forgive me on that. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like I mean, you got to take Harbaugh.
Well, and your guy Brock Bowers, I don't know if you saw the interview last week because he broke like Ditka's rookie record for receiving or something. He doesn't really know what Ditka is. It's getting a long time ago. That was the '60s. I mean, it's a long time ago for him. But
he can also break the receiving record set by Puka for receptions in a season by a rookie. I think he needs like 6 or 7 catches. So keep your eye on that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so then Seattle at the Rams. This was supposed to be a showdown game that ended up, as soon as Washington won, that ended every hope based on some weird tie breaks. I don't know if you read this at all, but Seattle's a 6.5-point favorite on the road at the Rams, 38.5-point total. So I was kind of confused too because I'm like, okay, so Seattle, if they won the game, they'd have the same conference record, they had the same division record, and they were head to head against the Rams 1-1. Why wouldn't they? Because it's like strength of common opponents or something weird like that. So they had 6 teams or something, and 4 of the 6 lost last week for Seattle, and that's what basically tanked them. So it eliminated them, even though record-wise you think they'd still be in the mix. So anyway, the Rams basically are in. They won their spot, and so they're sitting Stafford, and I'm assuming they won't play the running back Williams and stuff like that. So I understand why it's jumped up to 6.5. It's just a big number for me.
Yeah, and Gino's been really bad this year. I mean, he's progressively gotten worse every year he's been in Seattle. So he leads the league in red zone interceptions this year too, which that's never a stat you want to lead in. You're just taking points off the board with that stat. So I would take the under in this game, the way the Rams have been looking the last couple weeks. But I mean, your boy cashed up at a plus 800 on the Rams division winner. So I was pretty happy with all those tie breaks. So, but yeah, I think Seattle's probably going to win the game, but I think the number's way too big.
Yeah, 6.5. It started off at like 4, 3.5, and it ballooned up. So last game is a Sunday night game. Probably, I'm not saying the best regular season game we've ever seen. I think that the difference between this and 2 years ago, if you recall, the Raiders and Chargers game, that was a literal playoff game. Winner got in, if you remember.
Yeah, if they tied, they both got in.
Yeah. So this one, Minnesota's at Detroit. Detroit's a 2.5-point favorite at home. The total's up to 56. It opened at 52.5. It went all the way up to 57. It's kind of come back to 56. But this is the highest total out of any NFL game this year. The winner gets the 1 seed. Pretty simple, pretty exciting. And that's obviously a first round bye. And if you look at it, you're going from the 1 to the 5 seed. I mean, that's just insane. So there's definitely incentive here. I don't know, man. I like Minnesota. And it's funny, I don't believe in Minnesota to win the Super Bowl, which is kind of strange because you should think that we might have been communicating. I have not put any futures on Minnesota at all. And the reason why I haven't, they've never won a Super Bowl, right? This is one of these teams that is cursed. But if they're the 1 seed, they get to avoid the Eagles until, obviously the championship round. That would be great. And the way it sets up now, I mean, it does depend on who's going to be there because if you look at it, nobody wants to play Tampa. I mean, I don't think they want to play in the first round, let alone the second round. But it's still better to be the 1 seed than the 5. So I like Minnesota plus 2.5.
I'm probably with you just for the sheer fact that the rest, I think, is going to be a big factor in this game. The kind of talk of the town Monday night was if Dan Campbell was actually going to rest people because, the game was kind of meaningless against the 49ers. And, I mean, they came out and they didn't. Yeah, I was going to say they came out like pedal to metal. So, but I also think it's just the way that team is built. Like, they're not going to shy away from the challenge or anything like that. But I'm with you. I think I think Minnesota is probably one of the toughest places to play in the NFL. So I think that's going to mean a lot to them from seeding. And this Detroit defense is just very lackluster. And Sam Darnold hasn't been turning the ball over this year. So, and that's kind of
Right.
what the defense of the Detroit Lions has been living on, since Aiden Hutchinson got hurt. Let me ask you this. Do we think if Aiden Hutchinson's healthy, do you think the Lions would have rolled through everybody?
I don't know. I
Like this
mean,
wouldn't be a discussion if Aiden Hutchinson was
he's a
healthy?
really good football player, right? But is he on the level of T.J. Watt, Nick Bosa, where he's a game wrecker? I don't think so. I think there's other problems with the defense. There has to be. They're giving up 40 points a game. It's not one player there.
I mean,
It's
he
not
was
like
leading the
they
league
just.
in sacks before he got hurt, though, and
Yeah,
QB pressure rate.
I hear what you're saying. I just.
So,
I
yeah,
don't know.
I
I
would
don't
lean
think. I think they
Minnesota.
would have been the one seed. I just don't think they would have rolled. It would have still been a challenge, but they certainly would have. They put one more game. That's all they had to win, right? So
Yeah, right. LOL.
what I'm looking at right now is just as we were talking kind of out loud. I'm pretty sure if the Bucks win and the Rams lose, the Bucks go to the 3 seed, which is kind of big, right? Because they both would be 10-7, and the conference record. They didn't play head to head, right? They play this year.
I do not think so. Let me double check.
So I've got the conference records. Tampa would then be 8-4.
Yeah.
The Rams would be 6-6, so they would drop to the 4 seed, which is significant because I mean, we'll look at it next week when all the playoffs matchups are set up. It's going to be exciting, but
Yeah.
I don't know. In the end, I don't think the Vikings had any issue if they're the 5 seed to go and play the Rams, for example. They did lose to the Rams this year. Um, Tampa would be a tougher one. So I don't know. In the end, they're just going to play for the 1 seed. I think the biggest thing is Detroit. Their offense has been unstoppable, even without what's his name, without Montgomery. I mean, Jameer
Yeah.
Gibbs is just as long as he stays healthy, the dude is just so dynamic, right?
Well, there's
And
word that he's going to be back too. Montgomery should be back for this game, is what I've been hearing.
is it this game or was for the playoffs?
I've been seeing on Twitter that he's gearing up to play. I don't know
Hmm,
how true that is. Some beat writers have
okay.
been mentioning it, but it's a possibility from what I've been told.
Is it too? And sorry to go on a different tangent and put this in the outline, but did they end up? Uh, I know Zeke got released, right?
Yeah.
Did they pick him up? I know people were talking Detroit would be a good fit for him.
I haven't heard of anybody picking up Zeke yet, but that
Yeah,
was, from my understanding, that was the point of him getting released, was to get picked up by a playoff team. So
right. Well, it's just look. I don't think either of those things will make a difference in this football game. I think it's just it's scheme. It's can basically Minnesota scheme enough defense to stop Detroit a couple times because Minnesota was going to score on Detroit's defense. So
yeah,
that's basically the play. Can Detroit maybe get a couple turnovers? Sam Darnold becomes Sam Darnold again for a couple series, which he did have a bad pick in that game against Green Bay too. But they were so far up it didn't matter, and it took a free verse finish at the end. Minnesota's a better defensive team, so that's why I take Minnesota. But should be a fun game.
I think that's the key in this game too. Is the last 2 seasons, Brian Flores, all he's done is blitz Jared Goff when they played, and Jared Goff has been eating them alive. So
Right.
I think the tell of the game will be if Minnesota is aggressive in their nature like they normally are, or if they decide to play a little more zone coverage and stuff like that. So
Right.
I think you'll know real early what's going to happen in this football game. If they keep blitzing Jared Goff, I feel like he's going to keep eating them alive. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, what was interesting last week is I was really surprised that Minnesota Green Bay could not figure out what was going on, and it was like, guys, they're blitzing the house. You got to start running the football, right?
Yeah,
And then it just didn't happen. But I think Detroit can consistently run the football against anybody.
yeah.
Let's go over the picks this week. I do like Cincinnati minus the 2, Tampa minus 13.5. I do like Minnesota plus 2.5, Chargers minus 4, and then it's a toss up with these two. Hold your nose. Got to find a fifth pick. Kansas City plus 10.5 or Carolina plus the 8.
I'm still holding my nose. Don't worry. But I'm gonna go ahead with the Jets. I'm taking the plus 1.5. I'm taking Green Bay -9. I'm taking Buffalo minus 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take Minnesota plus the 2.5 and Tampa Bay minus the 13.5.
Yeah. So of course we did have some dogs in that, which is probably going to come back to haunt us. But what are you going to do? Not that you guys are following this at home as much as I am, but I try to learn from other people's mistakes or lessons. There were actually some knockouts last week in Survivor. So there's only 16 people left out of the original 14,266, and I say entries. So 1 week left. If everybody advances, and I don't know who everybody has left, that's kind of the key at this stage. They'll all win like 890,000. So that's going to be us next year, Coop.
Yeah.
Not too bad. But I mean,
it.
bottom line is every dropout adds that much more money to the pool. So I'm sure it's going to be some people are going to get knocked out this week. I don't think everybody has every team available. They might have left Kansas City, for example. They're in a tough situation, right? So there's not any slam dunks in this one. Buffalo, a little shorter line than people would probably like in weeks 18 or so. And the side action we've cratered the last 2 weeks. It sucks. Not that we were going to win, but it was like, hey, let's get to 50% for the year. We were at 50% in the last 2 weeks. And just
That's
okay.
Tough.
It's a tough year for when you want to pick dogs, it's a tough year.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But anyway, this weekend game night, dude. The game arena is being prepared. The cleaning crew is working right now. Yeah, go over there in that room. Start cleaning. That's me. So that's me after this. And I'm gonna make a little custom cocktail, like a bulk cocktail. We've got a new game. I still have to see if it's gonna work. We'll see what happens. So we've got it all ready to go. So I'm excited.
Yeah. How many are you anticipating?
It's so funny. Everybody starts RSVPing like the last second. Right now it says 44 yeses, 8 maybes. That doesn't include about 5 to 7 family members. I think it'll be 45 to 50.
Okay.
Yeah. I think usually you have a dropout with like 6 people that don't come, but then I have the family. So maybe right at 45. That's the prediction.
Nice. Okay.
As long as it's not 50, 52 is probably the maximum capacity for this venue. If it gets to 55, it's going to be exciting.
We don't have to worry about the floor caving in, do we?
Yeah, I'm going to tell people, please no jumping when I announce the scores.
Yeah, right.
You were here that time.
I don't think I was. I don't know if I was that time.
2 years ago, man. It was like, oh my God, I think the joists are going to break. Like we're all going to be in the storage room below. But, yeah. I also haven't invited the neighbors yet. So that might be a couple add-ons, but that's more just for so they don't call the cops.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, we definitely should do that for sure. I was thinking the same thing.
I did find a new place for wings. We're going to try Angry Joe's down the street. And then Caesar offered to make mac and cheese. So we've got a homemade touch this year.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah,
we'll get the crock pot fired up, maybe. Hell yeah.
Maybe. I don't know how he's going to do it. I'm not touching that crock pot. I got a clear space on my kitchen, so we'll see what happens. It's coming together. I did get my coolers. I got one cooler back. This is a funny story. I got one cooler back. Apparently, Steph gave my other cooler to like Hag, who gave it to Pacheco. Whatever. I don't think I'm ever getting that thing back. So I borrowed one of Caesar's coolers, which is a big one, so it'll be great for the party.
Gotcha. Well, the white elephant's coming up, so maybe that'll be your white elephant gift for the volleyball. Will be
white elephant, my cooler back to me. That'd be nice.
That would be fun.
Just put a bow on it.
Yeah, there you go. This is for Wegsy Poo. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll follow X at Side Action Pod on X and Side Action Podcast on Instagram. Don't forget about TikTok and follow me at Wegspool on X and on Instagram.
Yeah, don't you dare forget about that TikTok. But I'm Coop. You can check me on Instagram at Dalton Cooper, on X at Mr. Grumpy Gills. Again, we are the Side Action Podcast. May the bets ever be in your favor. And hey, we're getting into crunch time. It's going to be real sad here in a couple weeks when we have no football to talk about. And it's all hoops, baby. So we'll
college
see.
Basketball. I know you're going to do a hockey segment. You gotta. Did I tell you? I shouldn't. I'll save it. But I did. I bet an NBA future this week.
Oh. Yeah?
Yeah. More next week.
Oh, nice teaser. Nice teaser. We'll see you guys then.
All right. Talk to you guys later.